Right, my name's Peter Moon, and it's the 5th of May 2013. We're at the Furness Cricket Club in Barrow in Furness, and this is an interview that we're doing with Terry Greenway, who is the godfather of Northern Soul in Barrow in Furness. We've got a few questions I'm going to ask Terry, and he's going to tell us a few things about the scene and himself and the music. So Terry, to start with, tell us something about yourself and who you are and where you're from and what it's been like growing up in Barrow, where you worked and stuff.
Yeah, well, I was born in Preston actually, probably in the Cots and wet in hospital and that. But anyway, I was brought up in Barrow, first in Hastings Street on Walney Island, but mostly on Barrow Island. I'm definitely an island person, And my first venture really into soul and that didn't really happen. Actually, as far as my peers are concerned, I started slightly later than most of them and that. I made up for it since, I think. I think I paid my dues. But anyway, that's for other people to decide. But no, I left school in about 67 and that. I went and worked in Vickers, right? And I met up with with a guy in that, this boiler maker, he worked in the boiler shop where I worked and that. A guy by the name of Danny Smythe. Now he and his brother and that used to do incredible duo, used to do all the Sam and Dave stuff, etc. And they were absolutely brilliant, and they used to do it in the All 99 Club, right? Now, he really introduced me into something other than, say, Motown current in the charts at the time and that, and even vintage Motown, right? Going back to the early 60s, 63, 64 and that, the Miracles, etc. and that, when there was 7 of them, I think, including the sister. Yeah, 6 or 7, right? Yeah. But as I say, so he was the catalyst really for me getting interested in something called soul and that. Mainly Stats Fault, Atlantic, all the artists and such as Otis Redding, Sam and Dave. I mean, the whole roster and that,
Yeah, Terry, give us a couple of examples of, some of the tracks that you heard in the early days that got your attention. What were the tracks that kind of got you?
The tracks that got me really attention were mainly from the Stats Faults, really, and I suppose Sam and Dave soothed me and. Probably. Otis Redding and that, I never rated the guy actually, to be honest in that, I mean, I think it was far better than Otis Redding about, but that's another story. But as I say in that, generally in that, the sounds coming from Sam and Dave. And as far as Motown was concerned, I mean, the Four Tops of course and that, and as my mate Helen Goodwin would say, the best boy band ever, and that the Temptations, when they were the Temptations, and that when they were producing really good stuff and that for Hollanders in Holland, So that's where my real interest started, and believe it or not, I can remember distinctly the first actual soul record single I bought, and it probably come back to me where I bought it from. It wasn't Kelly's, which was very popular in that, and anyway, it was Private Number by William Bell and Judy Clay, and it was one of the, I think it was the first release in that where they actually Stats and that used the finger clicking sign as opposed to the falling records on a blue background and that, when they were distributed by Atlantic, etc. That's other stories,
Yeah.
So that's about and up to date in that. Well, I'm married somewhat later in life and that. I'm married to Sheila, and I have some great stepsons and that, and grand stepsons and that. I'm always grandfather, which is great, I missed all the aches and pains. I got the benefits, of grandchildren and that, Yeah. So my life's quite
settled and stuff.
It's quite settled, and it's going guns.
What about the club going, Terry? Where were the first clubs that you went to? I mean, did you go to local clubs first and then on to the big clubs?
Well, actually, obviously for me and that, local clubs, like, you know, I mean, there was always the Catholic Youth Centre and that. I always seemed to be a year older than all my the numbers there at the Catholic Youth Club. But I suppose Furnace Rugby Union Club and that was probably where I really got into what would become Northern Soul as such, like, and of course take off much later. Because of course, and that we all know and that, or so it's on record, so we believe, that Dave Godin and that coined the term Northern Soul and that, but that wasn't coined in that till what, 71, 72 and that. So before that it was just soul, and if there was any sounds connected to a club at all and that, you know, they say it was a wheel sound or something like that, but never Northern Soul and that. But I say that.
What about the clubs out of town, Terry? Which clubs did you go to out of town to start with? You know, obviously the casino club and.
Oh yeah, well actually I never actually went to the wheel. I went to Torch, but I never went to the wheel. I would have loved to have gone to the Catacombs and that, you know, places like that. But I never I never learned to drive. I can't drive and that, so you know I had to rely on other people for this, which wasn't always forthcoming that. But again, that's another story. But no, I would say my first real introduction and that to clubs outside of Barrow was the Highland Room, and of course the early Highland Room before Levine and that, before Curtis, like, you know, and then as everybody knows, after that period that it shut down, and then of course and that when the Torch shut down and that, the likes of Minsell and Colin Curtis and that came to the and took over the Highland Room and that, you know, and started there and that. I think Alan Dale as well will have also come to the Torch and played there and that. It's and oh dear me, I've lost my memory in that, but yeah. But as I say, and then it shut down again and that, then it opened again and that, and then Ian Levine came onto the scene and that. And by the way, I'm missing out with Major disc jockey in that at the Highland Room and that. His name escapes me, but I remember it later. I'll probably bring it up later anyway in that in question and that. Okay. So yeah, so probably the Highland Room, the greatest influence on me.
Yeah. And what was the year that then, Terry, that you were going there then?
Well, I don't know. Well, what about 70? I suppose it'd be like what, 1970, 71. I should imagine that. I should imagine somewhere around there, like, you know. But then I never initially went to the early Highland Room and that for the to the Mecca initially in that for the soul in the Highland Room. I kind of wandered into it. I wandered from the main dance floor into the Highland Room and that, you know. And oh yeah, this music's good and that, you know, it's the kind of music I like, you know. I mean, eventually probably what Highland Room was the destination eventually, like, you know.
And we were talking about the Mecca, aren't we?
Oh yeah, correct. See, now this is another thing. Everybody will say the Mecca. I mean, to me and that, there were a load of Meccas, right? Bingo halls, so forth and that, you know. And regardless of what they say and that, the Mecca will always be the Highland Room. And whenever I mention the Mecca and that, I don't mention the Mecca, I mention the Highland Room. To me, the Highland Room is the Mecca.